Let's start with the Rose Bowl. We get a rematch from in season. This is Oregon 13-0 taking on the Buckeyes, who we just saw in action yesterday, 11-2. The spread right now, the opening line, -1.5. Well, it opened -1, but -1.5 right now. Buckeyes, which I think is very interesting. Obviously, this one will be out there in Pasadena. Buckeyes are getting all the hype because of what we just saw yesterday, but Oregon's the only undefeated team in college football throughout the entire season. Who you guys going to take in this?
Quickly, that spread just went to -2.5.
I was about to say the same thing. It literally, Cone, while you were talking, I just saw it jump to 2.5 Buckeyes. The over is 54.5. Here's the question that everybody's going to be asking. And even before we get into the thick of schematically do this, do that, grab a wiffle ball bat, whatever. Is this the national championship? Is this game is this the best, the two best teams playing each other, right? If maybe you disagree, like in the chat, I want to know, in your mind, are these the two best? We see this in college basketball all the time, right? We get that Sweet 16 or Elite 8 matchup, and you're like, God, this may be the national championship, man, with the way these two teams are playing, even in the Final Four, right? Where we're like, well, this is really the national championship, and if UConn wins it, they're just going to absolutely obliterate whoever they play next, and that's how it's worked out. But, David, starting with you, are these the two best teams right now in your mind?
Well, maybe they're the two best teams. I don't know if this is a national championship for the reasons that we've just said. I mean, Georgia, Kirby Smart's got two of these things. That guy's going to figure out a way to dial up defensive plans to shut down anyone in the country when they really get motivated. Texas, I still think, is really good. And I'm not counting Notre Dame out of this thing. I think we're going to have a good tournament, man, despite what this opening weekend was. But I am really excited about this. Blaine, I want to ask you, do you think there's recency bias from the game yesterday in this line? Or do you think the Buckeyes are really going to be able to put that sort of performance together multiple games in a row?
I think, can two things be true at once? I will say this, like, you remember who Ohio State lost on the road at Oregon in this
by one,
and Dan Lanning had to put 12 people on the field. So, I will say, like, Oregon, from an offensive standpoint, they match up well against Ohio State's defense, because how you beat Ohio State is speed, right? You have to beat them with speed, and the weapons that Oregon has at the wide receiver and running back position, they have that. And you have Dylan Gabriel, right? Dylan Gabriel is good enough from a talent standpoint and a veteran standpoint to know what he's looking at, get the ball out quick, get it out on accuracy. The big thing I'm worried about is Oregon's defense. That's what I'm worried about. I saw Penn State move the ball up and down the field against you. Okay, I know, and look, I know what y'all did at Ohio State's defense when y'all are at Oregon. They're like, I get it. But it just feels like the more I look at this game, the more I like Ohio State. Like, I really do. There's a reason why this spread's going up. A neutral site game against Ohio State, it's going to be a hell of a football game for sure. The big question is can Ohio State run it like the way they did? Right? Can they manufacture that type of run game again against Oregon? Because if they can control the ball and get to Dylan Gabriel, I think they have a good enough roster to beat Oregon by a touchdown.
Well, David, if you remember, these teams have played each other, right? Which you can get a lot from that from a personnel standpoint. Now, schematically, they're going to go back, watch that film, build counters off things that they did, recopy, things that worked. But let's not forget, one of the things that helped Oregon a ton offensively, and Blaine, you're exactly right in that, you need speed to attack Ohio State. You need to be able to maybe supplement the lack of a run game with a quick passing game. And we know Will Stein in this Oregon offense, they're as good in the quick game and the intermediate game as anybody about getting the ball in space. But Evan Stewart was bombing Ohio State down the field. What opened up that run game where Jordan James went for 115 off 23 carries, even Dylan Gabriel popped for 32 on 4 carries, was Evan Stewart was running by people. And so they were hurting Ohio State on all 3 levels. That is the only way to consistently move the ball against this team. And you can do it in any order. You can do it short, long, middle, long, short, middle, short, long, long, middle, short. It doesn't matter. As long as you're able to affect all 3 levels, that's the only way to consistently move the ball. Here's a stat that's going to blow your mind. Last game, Oregon against Ohio State had 4 receivers 4 that averaged over 10 yards a catch.
Yeah.
Per catch. Evan Stewart had 7 for 150. I'm not a mathematician, but that's like 20 yards or something a catch. So when you're affecting them everywhere, they have to basically play you even or push all their chips on the table and say, damn it, we're bringing pressure and we'll play 1 or 0 behind it. Or we're going to give you a light box, which is what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to treat Oregon kind of like they treated Tennessee and say, you know what? We're going to give you a running box. Let's see if we can bait you in to not hurting us down the field or not even spitting the ball to Tez Johnson on the bubble or on the hitch or on the sit or on the arrow or whatever they do. But I'm telling you guys, an X factor in this game, Dylan Gabriel's legs, right? His ability to move within the pocket and outside the pocket can help them. But David, if you're Ohio State, you're looking at it going, well, Jeremiah Smith had 9 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Egbuka had 10 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. So you threw for 326.
How much did the Buckeyes rush for in that one?
They ran for 141.
And how much did Oregon rush for?
155.
Wow. Okay.
So
yeah, I mean, Oregon's success down the field was the most surprising part of that first game in the middle of the season, so much so that we were talking about Denzel Burke lost a lot of money, right? Now, what you're describing with Oregon's ability to affect you on any snap and any down and distance. Let's just keep in mind too, any down and distance, they can affect you at multiple levels of the field is what Tennessee wanted to do yesterday, but was unable to. Right? Like that's their style of offense too. Oregon just goes about it in such a different way with all of these weapons. I'm even surprised that they rushed for 150 in that game because like we always talk about, they supplement that run game with the quick passing game. The question for me for the Buckeyes on offense, can they do the same? I mean, can they live with Jeremiah Smith coming down on tunnel screens and now screens to be able to set up deep passes like we saw yesterday without that ultimately opening up the run game? See, that opened up the run game beautifully yesterday, and TreVeyon Henderson was able to have one of his better games of the season. But we talk about TreVeyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins like they're 2 of the best running backs in the country for a reason, but there's been a lot of games this season where they hadn't really played like that. Do the Buckeyes need to have a rushing attack consistently in this game to be able to beat Oregon? That's a question I don't know the answer to yet.
Jake, it's hard for me to think about you can beat Oregon from sideline to sideline. I think they're too fast on defense to do that. Oregon is a type of team to where if you want to beat them, you have to pound the ball directly at
from the jump, or can you open that up like we've seen of the Buckeyes pass to run?
If I'm Oregon, I'm the same way. I'm daring you to run it. I am daring you to run the ball. I'm not getting beat by that thing outside.
Yeah. Well, okay. So all right. I get what you're saying, Blaine. I get that you're saying that, but to me, like saying, all right, we're not going to get beat by the wide receivers. So how are you playing it? Are you playing with a light box and shading to Jeremiah Smith? Are you playing too high the whole game? Because here's what Chip Kelly is going to do. Because Oregon's good on defense. They're not elite, right? They've got a good defensive line, Birch. They've got some nice players. Here's what Chip Kelly is going to do. He's going to say, okay, let's get in 10 personnel or 11 personnel where I can flex the tight end and then bring him back in if I want to. If you're going to play too high, that's great. We're going to go wide splits. I'm going to run Q power. I'm going to run Q counter. I'm going to get that extra hat in the box. Hell, I may put G. Scott or somebody at running back to lead block for it, and then I'm going to get you out of it. And then when I get you out of it, that's when I'm going to pull your pants down. But also, Blaine, if I'm going to sit here and say, all right, well, I'm going to stop the pass. So how are you going to treat me on the outside? Are you going to keep everything in front? Are you going to play off? Are you going to press me? Are you going to press bail me? Because just because you say, all right, we're going to play too high and play off coverage, I'll throw the bubble all day. I'll throw the slant all day. I'll run mesh. I'll run high-low op. I'll run drags against you with Jeremiah Smith. That's all Ohio State did yesterday. They're like, all right, Jeremiah Smith, let's go. We're going to run a drag. You don't want to put somebody on them? You want to play everybody back, right? That's fine. We'll just run a drag. So how would you attack? That's what I'm saying.
Well, one, if I can keep everything in front of me, I think that's a great start. And look, if you want to run your quarterback, that's fine. Run him. I'm going to tag his ass every time he runs. Every time he runs, I'm going to hit him and hit him and hit him and let that wear and tear gain up a little bit and a little bit throughout the game. If you want to put your quarterback in that type of situation, that's fine. I'll do that. And how much do you trust your guys in space? How much do you trust your guys in space to be able to make the tackles? Tennessee had guys there. They had guys there. They just couldn't come up and make a tackle. I
don't think Oregon's tackling better than Tennessee in space against these cats.
Well, the only person I can say that is the guy who's coaching the defense. How much do you trust your guys? Because I know one thing. If they get behind us, it don't matter. We're not tackling them.
Well, is there any concern, Cone, is there any concern if you're Oregon and you say, all right, that's fine. We'll let you methodically take the ball down the field and then maybe try and tighten up in the red zone.
Sure.
Maybe it's a bend but don't break situation. But what happens if Ohio State goes, okay, that's fine. We're getting what? 5 yards a pop, 5 yards a carry, starting at our own 25. That's fine. We'll limit your possessions. We'll take 9-10 minutes off this clock. Like, how worried are you about that if you're Oregon about just not getting the ball enough?
I still think Oregon's going to be aggressive on defense. The one thing that concerns me, and Blaine brought this up, is the way that Penn State was able to score in the second half against Oregon and really keep that game close. That's one of the things that concerns me. But again, that was, they saw the flow of the game. I think they thought they had that game in hand. It's just one of the things that I'm thinking about. This is one of the few playoff games where I do like the over, though. It's sitting at 54.5. I like the over. I think both of these teams can score points, and they're going to hit big plays down the field. Even if the game restricts in the red zone a little bit, these offenses are good in the red zone for a lot of the reasons we talked about on Huddle Up last week. The way that Oregon's able to dial you up, the way that Chip Kelly's able to dial you up in the red zone, high and low red zone, they're great play callers.
Well, the red zone's probably what it's going to come down to. Like you said, both these teams are going to be able to move the ball in between the 20s. That third down, So, I mean, it's going to be a heck of a matchup. I can't wait for it.
Hey, appreciate you guys stopping by. It means the world to us, whether you agree, whether you disagree. Hopefully, it's a little bit of both. We love engaging. Y'all are the best audience in the world. And please make sure you hit that subscribe button because it helps everybody out.